Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Spotlight, which is brought to you by the Georgetown Branch NAACP, where we are here to educate, motivate, and activate. You normally see us coming in on Saturday morning, but we have a jam-packed weekend, which is why we're coming to you tonight. Please go ahead and like, share, and just put a comment in the chat section. Let us know that you're here. We have a special guest here tonight with us, Miss Lynn Ford and Miss Marilyn Hemingway, who's going to be talking about the Gullah Geechee Environmental Conference that's going to be happening this weekend. But if you would, please stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to put a hand of protection.
All right, everybody. We're just going to go ahead and jump straight into it. We are going to bring in our first VP, Mr. Deontay Winchester. Good evening to you. And I think you are muted.
Yeah, it might help if I take that thing off of mute. How you doing, Ebony?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
I'm all right, man. It's a good evening.
Great evening. Let's go ahead and bring in our president of the branch, Mr. Marvin Neal. Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing, Ebony Deontay?
Good evening. Right. We welcome everybody to the Spotlight. Again, we are bringing information to you that educates, motivates, and activates. And tonight we have a very special guest to bring to the table here. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring her in and she can introduce herself. But you all know that elections is coming up. And one of the election things that we will be voting for is going to be a school board. And that is so very important. It's nonpartisan, but you know how things are now. It is being treated like a partisan thing, but we want people to be informed about the different candidates that are running and their platform. So we're going to go ahead and bring on Miss Lynn Ford. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing?
Good, Lynn. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
We're so happy to have you here today, Miss Ford, to talk about really your platform and because right now, currently, you already are on school board, correct?
Yes, I am.
Good. And it's time for elections because of the new redistricting. Things have changed a little bit, and I know that we'll dive into that, but we're going to go ahead and let you have the floor and just really share with everyone all the things that you're working on.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would just like to thank you all. Thank NAACP for this platform and allowing me the opportunity to speak and to share. I am Lynn B. Ford. I'm running for, I say, re-election to the school board. I've been on the board for 2 years. Board members serve 4-year terms, but because of the redistricting that was done earlier in the spring, I was rezoned out of my district, which was 6, and now I am in District 2. So when the opportunity came to run for this fall, I decided I need to run for the district that I now live in. So here I am, 2 years into my term running again. So that's why I am running for District 2. And go ahead.
I'm sorry. We're happy that you are running.
Thank you.
Yes. You've been awesome from the very beginning because you're already so very active in the community. Your whole entire family, is just involved in helping.
Yes, I mean that's why I decided to serve in the beginning, just because of my background. I have been I've been in South Carolina in Pawleys Island off and on since I was 12. And so, of course, I matriculated through the Georgetown County schools and then went on to college and received my degrees from University of South Carolina undergraduate and University of Florida for graduate school. So I have a master's degree in mass communications. And And then I eventually, after moving around and working, eventually made my way back home. And so when my husband and I started a family, we knew the importance of education, and we knew the importance of parents being involved. And so from day one, we've been involved in our kids' education in terms of being volunteering in the schools. When they were in elementary school, we were on school improvement council, and I resisted PTA until middle school. But then I got on the PTA for middle school and also high school, and found it really very beneficial because it was an opportunity to get to know other parents and to, bring our common concerns as parents together to the district. And so while my kids were students in the school, there were certain things that I saw that some I liked and some that I didn't like. And so from a student's point of view and from a parent's point of view, there were some issues that I felt needed to be addressed. And so some of those issues we were able to address by being on the PTA, and then others were able to address by being on the board. So I believe that I'm a voice for parents. I was blessed to be able to volunteer, as I said, but there are many parents who I know for whatever reasons couldn't volunteer because of work schedules and other things. And so I took my service, and I feel like I can use that, and I have used it as a way to advocate on behalf of parents. And then also, I'm a big advocate of young people. Marvin Neal and I were talking earlier about my history, my work history, and we talked about my role with Service Over Self when I was executive director of that organization. And that organization served middle and high school students. And so I've been an advocate for children for a long time. And I see the need for their voices now even more than ever, because kids are hurting. Kids are too often talked to and talked at and talked about, but no one actually talks to them to find out what they're interested in, what they're feeling, what they're thinking. And I think we need to do more of that so we can find out, and we can have better ways to address the issues that young people are facing. And then finally, I believe that I'm a voice for teachers as well. Our teachers have been through a lot. Our teachers are underserved. I feel like they're undervalued as well as underpaid. Unfortunately, our state does not have us place as high a value, I think, on teachers and teacher pay as other states do. But fortunately, they did increase teacher pay this past term for the legislature, and we were able to include it in our budget as well. But we've got a lot of work to do in terms of making sure they have equitable pay, because if we can treat our teachers with dignity and respect, if we can give them equitable pay, hopefully that will draw them back into the workforce, because they are leaving in droves.
A lot of work to do indeed. What are some of the changes that you would like to see happen if reelected?
I would like to continue to see positive inroads in terms of cutting down the learning losses that we've seen during the pandemic. We have to address learning losses of our young people in a systemic way. We know that with academic gains, so prior to the pandemic, we have, there were a number of students that were struggling. And they were struggling in a way that caused gaps in academic achievement. And unfortunately, a number of minority students fell into that category. Then during the pandemic hit, and all of our students suffered. And that gap, that learning loss gap, got even wider. So after the pandemic, or towards the end of it, we'd really put some measures in place to try to address that. And we've begun to see some gains academically. Test scores still aren't where they need to be, but they're creeping up. We're seeing positive inroads in math, in reading, and in English. As I said, there's a lot of work to do, but at least we are moving in the right direction. So I would like to see continued interventions going on during the school day. There's some that happen after school, but during the school day where we can fit it in and get the most students, I think that's really important. Also, teacher recruitment and retention. Teachers aren't entering the field, they're leaving the field. And then the statistics for minority teachers is even greater. Minority teachers are not entering the field. the way we would like. But we have to really be diligent in seeking out, being creative, seeking more creative ways to have partnerships like we do with Voorhees and some other HBCUs. We've got to be more diligent in making sure that our minority teachers are promoted when necessary, and or when they desire to be promoted, and also supported in their various positions. So there's a lot of work that we do need to do. And then mental health of students and teachers, I think, is really critical. A lot of times you may hear other candidates talk about safety and they want to know about metal detectors. But I think what's really critical in terms of the safety of our students is their mental well health and their mental well-being. If a student is suffering from anxiety, from depression, from panic attacks, to the point where they're hiding out in the bathroom or they can't get out of bed to get to school, we have to do something, and there's a serious problem that's going on. So one of the things that I've done since being on the school board, because the pandemic just really highlighted those issues and made it even worse, one of the things that I've asked for was a mental health advisory panel to come on board to share with us resources that are currently available throughout the county. And they've done that. Now, the next step that I would like to see is for this advisory board to identify best practices of, what are other communities doing, other school boards, other states and counties, how are they handling mental health issues, and bring their successes to us so that we can start implementing some of those, and then monitoring what we're currently doing to make sure that it's still effective.
Okay. How was this mental health advisory board selected?
Basically, the district staff looked at I think it was, they brought in nurses, counselors at different schools, behavioral specialists. So they pulled on the specialists from the schools that are in that category.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You said something very interesting in your earlier comments. You said our teachers should be promoted when necessary, I think you said,
Mm-hmm.
and many of them should be supported in their current positions. And I would extend that to administrators as well. Seemingly,
Yeah.
there is a targeted effort to dismiss Black leadership in administrative positions, as well as deny individuals who are well qualified to be administrators if they are African American. What is the role of the board in preventing that from happening and making sure that the administration there at Georgetown County School District adheres to the consent decree that's imposed right now, and also moving forward that they make these positions equitable to all and not operating on this good old boy system that it's been operating under?
So our role as a board is to hold the superintendent accountable,
Mhm.
to not micromanage, but to ask the right questions, to look into allegations, to find out processes that we may not be aware of. When I say find out process, like how does the hiring work? How were are the contracts being followed? How, just to really dig into those and make sure that that those practices are equitable. Make sure that I'm trying to think of some of the, because you mentioned several things at once. I'm trying to address your issues, but basically make sure that the superintendent that he is asking the right questions of his staff in terms of human resources, to make sure that everyone has a fair chance at certain positions and going for advancement for certain positions, and that when there are investigations, that the investigations are followed, are used following the right format.
Okay. How are investigations to be handled properly when we've seen in multiple occasions that they can be terminated by the superintendent, especially in situations when he is being called into question? How is that fair to the individual posing the investigation?
I'm not sure So what do you, just give me some other, ask that a question another way. So you're saying if the superintendent is in question about
There's
doing
been
the job the correct way, is that what you're asking me?
there's recently been a situation when the superintendent's um actions were called into play, and there was an investigation put before the board, but it was terminated and uh, unable to be heard by the board, by the superintendent himself. Is that due process?
So from my understanding, so, and I won't talk about an individual case, but from my understanding, the policy is that grievances can be held by the board or brought before the board once certain steps are followed. And there was a case where someone wanted to have a grievance before the board, but all of the steps weren't followed, so we weren't able to hear that grievance. So that's all I can say about a particular case. But when there are issues with the process, and there are questions about how things are done, the board does go and look into it and does ask, our goal is to hold the superintendent to the fire to say what's going on, take us through the process, let us know how things have transpired, and then just kind of go back and forth just to make sure that all I's were dotted and T's were crossed. So because the superintendent is our employee, so yes, we do. It is our job to go and follow up on these matters.
Awesome. So once again, we just thank everyone for joining today's Spotlight, which is brought to you by the Georgetown Branch NAACP, where we are here to educate, motivate, and activate. And we have a full house today. We actually have Deontay Winchester, First VP, and President Marvin Neal, and a special guest, current school board member and candidate for the upcoming election, Miss Lynn Ford. She is here today and she spent a little bit of time with us. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and post your question. Now is the time to ask these questions of your candidates. It's not good enough just to vote for people. You need to know what they stand for. And right now, if you know anything about her district, there's a couple of people that are running, and it's important to know about each one before you cast that ballot. So please go ahead and post them if you do. She's going to be on here just for a short period of time. I know her schedule is jam-packed, but thank you so much for coming on today, school board board member and candidate, Ms. Lynn Ford. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I do want to say a lot of folks, I kind of want to share a little bit about what school board members can and cannot do. A lot of folks don't know what we do. And I didn't know really before I started digging into all this and getting involved. And I think, personally, my kids still don't know what I do as a school board member. But our job is we set policy, we review policies. We do have the superintendent as our staff person, so we don't micromanage other positions. I always say that if a parent comes and says, a teacher is acting unfairly, we think this is a bad teacher, our job isn't to hire or fire teachers. We oversee and monitor the processes to make sure that things are done equitably and fairly and according to policy. But if I tell parents that if they're having issues with teachers, make sure they follow the chain of command, that they need to go, if they can't satisfy their situation with talking to the teacher, then their next step is to talk to the principal. If someone has an issue with the principal and they've talked to the principal and can't resolve it, then I can help them to find out, which district staff person is over principals of, that particular school. So there is a chain of command. We don't automatically, we should not go immediately from there's a problem in the classroom, oh, let me go directly to the superintendent, because that's not how it should be handled. We also have administrative oversight. We have legislative oversight where we do a little bit of advocacy. I mentioned earlier that we we go before the legislature and advocate on behalf of education issues. And, one of the things we want to do is have more of a relationship with our legislative representatives here in Georgetown County. So I think that prior to the pandemic, there used to be more of a, maybe there were some breakfast or events going on between the school district and the legislature. And, hopefully we can bring that together again and be able to have some one-on-ones with our legislative delegation. So those are some of the things that we do as a board.
That's great. Go ahead, Mr. Neal. I believe if you and me have some questions.
I think you've pretty much answered all my questions pretty much. But one thing, and I understand exactly what you're saying, there's a chain of command, and I do agree. And we are going to open this platform up for all the candidates to come on and just explain talk about their platform. It's important that for people to know who's running and why they are running and what their platform is and how it affect the lives and the future of the school district and the future of our children and the future of America. Because this is the next step. Teachers are the second. Well, teachers see their children more than the parents see their children during the school years. So, it's almost like a balancing act. So there has to be a lot of communication there between the school, the teachers, the children, and the staff, the superintendent, and stuff of that nature. So, I appreciate that really just the explanation that you've given, because I don't think I've listened to a lot of school board members that have been on it for years, and I've never heard them explain the process, which I know it because I study it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them really don't go to training to get knowledge of what they're supposed to be doing. But a lot of times you have to grow up into a professional world of understanding and chain of concerns and command to know exactly what a process is. You can't always jump over it. Sometimes we want you to. I want you to every time. I can tell you that now. But, work there, and I understand that. But, we still have to advocate for the voice of the people that's being affected. And I know what your role is also. So I'd expect y'all to jump out there and beat the superintendent over his head every time and stuff with a baseball bat and say, hey, this is what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But we still have to advocate for the people because that's our job. We all have a role to play to make this thing equitable and fair. Because a lot of times y'all just don't know until we advocate for someone.
That's right. That's right.
I know you can't bring everything out to the public because it'd be more of a, you have folks out in the streets like back in the days and stuff, hang him. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want that going on. So, Deontay pretty much asked most of my questions, but there's one thing. Once these situations have occurred, and I don't know if y'all have a retreat, but I know y'all have something similar to a retreat where you go back and retreat as a board and say, these are the things that did not work based on policies. And how do we adjust this policy to correct this? And I'm saying that because there is a definite problem with that human resources department there, that certified area. There's a problem there because there's no checks and balances. You can't make the decision, make the process, quality control the process, and come back to you for correction. It shouldn't work that way because that becomes authoritarian or dictatorship. And that is not good for anyone. And that's too much of a comfort zone we're in right now. And I don't even want you to answer that question. I just want, when you get back to the board, to look at the policies and see what happened in the past, just in this past year, just in the past 3 or 4 months, and see how could we make a difference here? Because there are still some things, and everyone is not going to be satisfied, but everyone should walk away with an understanding of what went wrong, what went right, and how we're going to move forward with this. Even if they didn't get satisfaction, policy should make correction where they get satisfaction the next time, even if they're wrong. They will know why they're wrong. Not just happen because you're sitting in not you, but people are sitting in a position of authority that could that you throw everything at the wall that might stick. You know what I'm saying? So, well, okay, well, this is why it happened. This is why it happened. That didn't work. Let's throw this at the wall. So if it stick, now a lot of that is going on. And I made it clear in the board meeting. I've been there. That certified section of human resources need to be fixed. There's a problem there. And I don't know why they have it separated anyhow, because that's not checks and balances. You have someone on the classified side that's a qualified doctorate, master's in human resources. Then you have someone on the other side, the certified side, came from the teaching profession, which is fine. But God have mercy, I don't understand how that works. Who's talking to who? Because it's obviously both sides is not talking to each other. Because just in the last school board meeting, and I'm talking to all the school board members now. I'm just not talking to you, and I don't even want you to answer because I don't want you to put that out.
I don't know what's going on there, but
That's Ebony is in the country. So, but when he briefed the process, when I was talking about nationality and race, you understand, whites then others, okay? And I said, well, all that need to be broken down because how do we classify others? And really, it's almost insulting because I don't want to be classified as an other because I don't think I put that on any application or anything that there is there African American or black. It's African American or black. So all those things should be spelled out. Because when I spoke with the certified section, what they said it was whites and others. So I asked who was others. And I asked a specific question: is an Italian an other? He said, yeah. I said, how could that be? When they're considered a Caucasian. And some of them filed, when they filed to the school board, they filed as a Caucasian. Okay? These things have to be cleared up because it's not right. And when it's reported as others to make it look like people look at others as blacks, period. Because you notice when the superintendent briefed the following board meeting, he said whites, blacks, and others. Myrtle Milton said whites, minority, and my minority is blacks that I'm reporting. You see what I'm saying? So something has to get clear because the classified and the superintendent is on the right scale pretty much, but the certified still doing his own thing. And if you look back at the tape, when Councilman Walker asked the question, who was others to the classified, to the certified section, and he went right back to the same thing. It's whites and black, whites and others. But the superintendent came right behind him and said, whites, blacks, and he broke it down. You see what I'm saying? And he explained what others was. But the certified did not. You see what I'm saying? Those are things that have to be clarified. Because when you communicate with people, they need to be clear on what's really going on according to what the communication and the conversation is about. Because they invited me to the table, and I sat there, and they showed me their report, and I looked at it. I said, this report is not correct.
Gotcha. Well, you told me not to respond to that, so I won't.
Don't.
But I appreciate you.
But I want to just state that point.
Yeah.
So when y'all are looking at reports saying hired 10 whites and 15 others, you need to ask the question, who are others? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we have mixture of black and whites that's serving in the school district classify themselves as white. But they're looking just as dark as I am. So if I walk in and put white on my application, they can't change that because that's what I classify myself as. Mm. You see what I'm saying?
I bet you'd be hired for whatever you're putting in for.
No, until they see my face in some cases. That's called what section you certified or classified. Now, I don't want to get into that and stuff. But I just want to make sure that we are clear because, and I don't fault anyone for that because it's a pattern it's a traditional pattern. And it just kept coming out to me as I studied the consent decree, it breaks it down. But when they report to the Justice Department, they're reporting this bulk, and they're looking at these others as black people that they're hiring, but it's not really black people. They're hiring that time everybody else that they're classifying in that category. So it's a false narrative that they're giving. And I speak to the Justice Department. I speak directly to the attorney. And she speaks back to me.
Oh, can I say one thing before I forget?
One thing.
One thing.
Two things.
Yeah, not about what you just said.
Okay.
But one of the things that was running through my mind earlier was that for the election, when people go to vote, regardless of how you vote, Ebony said in her introduction that school board members, it's nonpartisan, and that is true, and it needs to stay that way. Some people, when they go to the polls, you know, they're going to be voting for other things, and so they're going to vote straight Democrat or state Republic or straight Republican ticket. However you vote, if you decide to vote straight ticket, you have to go all the way to the end to vote for school board members. If you just vote straight ticket, you're not voting for school board. So please, however you vote, make sure you go all the way to the end and look for school board so that you can vote. Your vote will count for school board members.
And we will stress that because we will definitely make the attempt to have an NAACP member at every poll or a member of somewhere, whether it's Club 142, League of Women Voters, whoever, to explain that when they walk through that door, you know, ask them to explain, make sure people know that candidates for the school board is at the end of the ticket, nonpartisan.
That's right.
Okay, and that's important. That's critical, you know, because you could really be voted out without even knowing, voted out in silence, because of we do not educate people on how to vote. And that's critical, and that's what we're doing right now. So, and we are inviting all the candidates for school board to come on this platform. You know, everyone. And I would love to have every candidate on here because Deontay, he's a driller. If you notice, Lynn, but
please believe I'm going to hold him accountable.
And
I like Miss Ford. I like Miss Ford. So what you think I'm gonna do to the ones I don't like?
You like
wow, they're gonna be in for it then.
See, now we're not gonna get anyone other than Lynn.
Nah.
There's a whole lot more gonna come on. We have some good school board members, I must say. You know, we looking to retain some, and you know, and some are leaving. So I don't have a problem with school board members. I just like to make sure we get our point across at the board meetings and that something happens that will take care of the people that's being served. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And we are, we do have a strategic planning meeting every year. I think we used to have retreats prior to my being on the board. I don't know where that went or if we'll get to do that again, but I know I enjoy going to the different workshops and conferences that South Carolina School Board Association offers. I learned a lot there. I've learned a lot about school board, you know, policies, about things that school board members, you know, can and can't do. I've even learned about, you know, when people stop you in the grocery store and they, you know, start talking to you, you know, you want to know what's going on. You know, you want people to talk to you, but I've learned that you have to kind of be cautious, you know, to protect them. So I've gotten a lot of good advice from conferences. It's very, very meaningful. And it's also really heartwarming to see and talk with other school board members across the state and to see the things that they're going through and kind of just to understand, you know, the climate and, you know, understand the dynamics of their boards and, you know, of their relationship with their superintendents and with their fellow board members. So it's definitely educational.
No, I know you don't ever ask them, do y'all have an NAACP that shows up at every board meeting?
I need to ask that question.
You gotta say this guy's crazy. He just shows up like he lives there. You know, I
know it's your job.
I asked the superintendent to give me a desk there, but I think he's contemplating it. You know, yeah. But hey, we just do what we do. You know, I don't have any dislike for the superintendent. I just want to make sure that our people are served.
Sure.
Absolutely. You know, and that's what it's all about. We all have a job to do, It's called checks and balances.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
and you don't want to answer all those questions in the grocery store, because you
Mhm.
could put yourself up to a point where you cannot even participate in a even to vote on a situation, because you had already, skewed the process.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
I understand where you're coming from.
Right.
I understand, but they want that answer. I want that answer, but I
Mm-hmm.
know I can't get it all the time, but I'm gonna keep asking. You know,
Right. Right.
what are you
Exactly.
doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing, Lynn? What are you doing, Lynn? What are you doing, Marvin? I'll talk to you later. Well, I understand. So when you do
Exactly.
that, I
Yeah.
understand, but I'm
Right.
gonna still ask.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I
Yeah,
want more people to feel like they can ask questions. If they can't come to the board meetings, then, call us. Our numbers are on the district website. Call us and ask questions. It's important, because if we're only hearing one voice, then we're only hearing one side of the issue. And there's
yeah.
not just two sides to an issue. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 sides to an issue. And so, if you want your voice to be heard, you've got to let it be known. We'll do our part. I'll go to the schools, and I'm, doing that more, going to the schools, trying to get to programs when I can, and getting out in the community to hear from people. So it's a two-way street. And I think communications and transparency is extremely important. And I also believe, like you were letting us know earlier, it would be good if all the candidates were to come here on this forum, so you can
Yeah.
ask them questions, because everybody doesn't have the same agenda. And I think that people don't need to get on the school board who have an agenda. The only agenda should be that of serving kids.
Hello.
And if you have another agenda that you're trying to get on the board, then there's going to be a problem. And it really makes for a contentious school board. And one of the things I've learned is, as an individual board member, I can't do anything. I serve along with the other board members, and we have to come to an agreement. So one of the things that I do, I think that I can bring to the table very well, is consensus building. I know how to read a room and how to learn. I've sat back a lot to just learn my fellow board members when I started, and asked a lot of questions. And then I got to know the board members, and just build consensus, because we're not always going to agree. And sometimes that's good. That's what diversity is all about. But as long as we can be respectable when we disagree, and find a way to come to some common ground, and then we vote important thing.
But Lynn, the interesting thing, I know all the board members, and and I
Mm-hmm.
pretty much know what makes them tick. And I've been floating around here that long, and we have some great board members, very diverse board and stuff, and I can communicate with all of them. And
Mm-hmm.
that's important.
That
You
is.
know, that's important.
That's
A
a
lot
good
of
thing.
times, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate you. We're going to really try to get every candidate on this platform, because the community needs to know, and we're going to have a forum. There are forums going on right now. We're not going to stuff everybody with forums and stuff, but we definitely need to have one forum at least, and that's for at large, because your forum is concentrated in a certain area,
Right.
which is fine, and you serve the whole district once you're elected. And I
Right.
don't think a lot of people understand that. You can't serve a concentrated area because you did not run at large. You still serve the whole county.
That's right. That's right. I just bring a certain district into
Yeah,
play, but I serve the
yeah,
entire county. You're right.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ms.
But we have some great at large candidates right now that brings the whole county to the table and say, hey,
That's right.
I've been going around and these things are going on and stuff. They go around. I know those at large we have right now, they get to the school district because I talk to them, I hear them, and
Mm-hmm.
that's important. So at large candidates is huge, huge to the final tally and the final say so when you're sitting in executive committee meetings or when you're sitting at the board meetings. And no, that's not it. This is what I'm hearing. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been there too. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Thank you so much for coming on, Ms. Ford. Any last words you want to leave the viewers with?
Well, I just want to say thank you again for having me. I appreciate all the viewers for tuning in. I do hope that you will consider The fact that I've been on the board for 2 years and my experience goes a long way. I have enjoyed what I've been doing. I feel like I can make a difference, and I want to continue making a difference in the lives of our young people throughout the county. As I said earlier, I am a voice for our young people. I'm a voice for parents, and I'm a voice for educators throughout the district. And so I would welcome the opportunity to continue to serve in this capacity. Thank you so much for this time.
Hey, thank you, Lynn. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Mr. Deontay, what's next on the platform? I think she have done a great job there.
Well, she's done an excellent job. And I don't want anyone to think that I was
no, you asked the question that nobody else wants to ask. That needs to be asked to every board member.
We must hold our elected officials accountable. We must.
Good trouble. Get into good trouble.
Every chance I get.
Man.
So, Mr. Neal, what we got going on tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow's the environmental conference. Huge, huge,
okay.
Huge environmental energy conference. And what we are talking about, those things that affect all communities, even when you don't know you're being affected, you know, from water and sewage to the seawater rising, to even to what we eat, what goes into our food, you know, to electric cars and the importance of electric cars, to power plants and how it impacts on the environment when you're burning coal and stuff of this nature, you know, to wind and turbine energy and stuff, and even to talk about, you know, growing our crops and how to do that properly and stuff. You know, organic seeding. All those things are important because we really need to know what goes into our body. Because if I had known what went into my body when I was your age, Deontay, man, I've been walking around looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger right now. You know, I've been
might still have a little bit of hair, huh?
So you didn't have to go there and stuff. But I didn't know anything I don't know any food that could grow here and stuff. I heard about some stuff, you know. I heard about the vitamin E and all that stuff. And I'm not laughing. It's not funny, you know. You know, but I think every man should have a bald head and stuff because that's bold. Bald is bold. You know, so if you ain't bold, hey, don't talk about being bald. You know what I'm saying, Deontay?
So also about this the Gullah Geechee environmental.
It's huge.
Oh man. And to bring it back full circle, we're also gonna have a little segment in there as well, discussing some of the effects of Hurricane Ian and some of the natural disasters that affect our community.
That is huge because we still have communities and families that have been impacted, even from food. Still have holes in their roof. Still have windows blown out. They're trying to figure out how do they repair this. You know, some of the insurance don't want to touch it. You know, and some of them can't even get insurance because they're distance from the sea and the waterway.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So a lot, if they don't have flood insurance, that's another challenge, you know, because this is what the insurance company are looking for now, flood insurance. That's what covers most of what goes on with hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff. That's why I have flood insurance and just regular insurance. You have to have it. Flood insurance is necessary. So I have flood insurance. I'm not required to have it, but I require me to have it because I don't want no mess, you know? So it's easier, it's cheaper to have insurance. It's better than money in the bank.
There you go.
Believe me, because it will drain your bank account one incident. But insurance, you could pay it month to month and you will always have coverage. You know, and I'm not advertising for flood insurance, but that's what I do. I protect myself with insurance. I insure everything I got, except my hair. If I had to insure my hair and stuff, I still had some and stuff, but you know.
So again, the Gullah Geechee Environmental and Energy Conference is held tomorrow at the Howard Center, 8:30 to 3:30.
Yeah.
Hosted by our very own Miss Marilyn Hemingway, CEO of the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce. She's done a great job on that. All who can and will support that event. If you want to, go ahead, Mr. New.
But you know, that conference, Deontay, I want to give you a little history on that conference. You remember, well, you don't remember, because you came after. The first Environmental Energy Conference was in 2017.
Okay.
That's when I took over as branch president. Okay. And the first conference is when we collaborated with Maryland Hemingway and the Gullah Geechee. And we put it all together with the NAACP that weekend. We brought in the national president in Georgetown, he is from Georgetown. He grew up in Georgetown, Dr. Reverend Cornell William Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
His family is right there from Polly's Island, Georgetown. Della Pearl and those that right there, the Deltas and all those and stuff, and the sororities and stuff. And I mean, just great people. They're a member of Bethel Church. As a matter of fact, he was a member of Bethel Church. His father and grandfather was members of Bethel Church in Georgetown, historical Bethel.
Okay.
So he came in, and he really set the tone for where we are right now. He set a strong message, very strong message and stuff. You have to grow from where you are. You can't stand still and move anything.
Amen.
And I think he put us on fire that weekend, and we have been on fire ever since. And Maryland was a strong advocate, for energy and environmental justice and just justice, period. Maryland was one of our first fighters. Her and Ebony and Steve Williams and Fred Williams and Janet Graham and Miss Viola Green and the late Miss Lil Mutri. Man, these were the kickoff of the fire that came after I took over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are just great people, man. We just added on. You and Ebony came along, and man, it's just a great team that we've put together here, and just moving forward. And we're looking for greater days. We're in our least days now. We're looking for greater days. So just look out. Here we come. Because there's a lot of work to be done. So, but back to the Gullah Geechee Environmental Conference. That starts at 9:00 tomorrow. Registration.
Mm-hmm.
And there's several training that's going on. I think you're putting on one of the sessions in there if you want to talk some about those.
Well, I'll be doing an hour-long session on self-care. So, and that's vitally important if you're someone who serves as an advocate for the community, an activist, whatever you want to call it, because we sometimes get burnt out a little bit. We suffer from compassion fatigue because we care a lot about the issues that we fight for. So tune in. It'll be a good thing. And I promise you, you will hear from a smart, handsome, young brother that will tell you what you need to know.
Just look for the big man with the big head with the big hat.
Moving on. We got
but there's one more thing also, let's make sure that people really need to understand the importance of this conference, because
it's major.
The future of America and where we live right now depends on how well we are educated on our environment and how it impacts our lives, from a medical to mental to educational, economic, equity. It all falls in, it's like a wedding band effect.
Oh yeah.
So, and you have to know in order to be not ahead of the game, just in the game. Because those that don't know, you find yourself in gentrification and everything else that falls in line with not knowing. Because it comes down to, at the end of the day, it's all about voting anyhow and how you vote to protect your environment.
Voting is a great segue into our next topic. On the 29th of October, 6 p.m. at the Howard Center, we actually have a talent show that we putting on in collaboration with the League of Women Voters. And for that, we're asking for anyone who has a little bit of talent in singing, dancing, whatever you think you can do, comedy. All we ask is that you keep it clean. And for prizes for that, first place, $500. I know a lot of us can use $500. Second place, $200. And the third place winner will be given $100. We're also doing raffles. Well, not raffles, but we'll be doing random drawings for $25 gift cards to different things like gas cards and Amazon cards and things of that nature for anyone who shows up with their I voted sticker. So please, if you can, support this event. If you have talent, get with us to sign up. If you know somebody with talent, tell them to sign up. If y'all want to split the money, that's on y'all. That ain't our business. But yeah, please support this event. Age range is 17 to 40. 17 to 40.
And what is that for? To participate?
That's to participate in the event. Anyone can come and support. It's a free
Anyone
event.
could come to the event. I just want to make that clear. The participation is 17 to 40. Why that age?
Well, because that's considered young adults, and that's who we targeting to get out and vote.
So who am I?
No comment.
Okay. Let me say it like this. Every generation have its moment. You just had yours. Okay.
Nah, but I certainly I appreciate you. I'm standing on your shoulders. But we definitely want to push this event. Tell your brother, tell your cousin, tell your mom and them, whoever, because we definitely want to push this demographic to the polls.
Definitely.
This election is vitally important. What's on the ballot this upcoming election, Mr. Neal?
Oh God, man. You got economic on the ballot. You have education on the ballot. You have climate justice on the ballot. You have criminal justice on the ballot. You have education on the ballot. You have health on the ballot. What we don't want on the ballot is critical race theory. We don't want that on the ballot. We don't want insurrection on the ballot. We don't want those things on our ballot. We don't want deprivation of privacy on the ballot. We want democracy on the ballot. Those things that I spelled out spells democracy. Civic empowerment, economic empowerment, climate justice, criminal justice, education, health, that's democracy. And everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to have that. And you have to continue to fight for it in order to preserve it. You have to fight for it. And that's what we have on the ballot. And we have to continue. You know, the NAACP is rich in history, strong in leadership, committed to change. Always remember that. You know, and one more thing. W.B. Du Bois said, now is the time, the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done. Let's do our best work today. Today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today. Let's do our best work today. That's why we came on tonight, because tomorrow would have been too late for us to have this segment, because you might have missed the Environmental Energy Conference tomorrow if we came on tomorrow. So
we also don't want to forget Monday at 5:30, the Beck Boardroom. There will be a candidates forum that everyone needs to be in tune for, because how can you make an informed decision at the ballots if you don't know the candidates' platform? Final thoughts, Mr. Neal.
Education is power. Voting is your voice. Speak with education within your voice. If you're not educated, talk to someone that is in reference to the issues. Talk to the candidates. Bring your question. Every question is a good question, because there's a variety of candidates going to be out there. And the answer that you might be looking for between those 7 candidates that's out there, ask that question. Someone will answer. You might not like the answer you want, like the answer you get. so you know how to vote either way. But get educated on the process, and starting the 24th of October, early voting starts until the 5th of November. You could vote at different polls within the county. Andrews Recreation Center, Choppy Recreation Center, the election office in Georgetown, and in Polly's Island. What was that? Should have had that. We'll come back. We'll put on check our webpage.
Okay.
Check our webpage. There's 4 different sites you could vote on. No excuse voting. So you could just go and vote. Vote.
Again, tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m. at the Howard Center, Gullah Geechee Environmental and Energy Conference. Monday, 5:30, Beck Boardroom, Candidates Forum. Please be there. October
Okay.
29th, 6 p.m. at Howard. We will be doing a talent show. $500 first prize, $200 second prize, $100 third prize. If you want to sign up to be performing, if you have talent, give us a call at 790-4075 for more information. We'll get you signed up.
Okay. On that early voting again, Deontay, it's at the Andrews Recreation Center on 220 Cedar Avenue in Andrews. Choppy Recreation Center at 8259 Choppy Road. Litchfield Exchange behind Applewood, the Pancake House in Litchfield. That's at 14363 Ocean Highway in Polly's Island. And Georgetown County Voters Registration and Election Office, 303 North Hazard Street in Georgetown. It starts October 24th through November 5th. Includes Saturdays from 8:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. From October 24th to November 5th, you can vote at those 4 locations. So please go vote early. Get it in the bank now, because you don't know what's going to happen on Election Day.
All right. We appreciate everybody for tuning in to Spotlight, brought to you by Georgetown NAACP number 5520 on our special night. As always, we love you all. Continue to love yourselves. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Deontay.